So this is a quick example for your Hue Value Chart. Your Hue Value Chart is a matching value to fully saturated color. So choose 5 to 6 colors that you have in your palette that you've purchased. So it might be your alizarin crimson, your cadmium orange, your yellow, your ultramarine, and your cyan. Those are probably colors that you have. Feel free to include a secondary mixture if you'd like, just to see what value range you can get in your secondary colors from your primary set. So in this example, I've mixed an orange and a green as well, just to see where they lie within that value range. So you will be creating a double chart, so each square will be 1 inch. So when you're setting this up, your hue chart is 1 inch tall, and then your value chart is 1 inch tall, and then there's a 1 inch border all around. And remember, your tape is very close to 1 inch, so you can use that as a measuring gauge. Whenever you set up for the 2 by 5, 2 by 6, however many colors you're going to investigate. Ideally, and the most easy manner for you would be to lay your colors in value range. So to lay down, more than likely your yellow will be your lightest value, ending probably with your cobalt blue or your ultramarine blue, depending on what your color set is. If you do it in order, it'll be easier for you. This example that I've given to you is not in order. I'm just value matching the colors as I lay them down. So after you tape off your border, tape off your gray side so that only the hues are exposed. And then what you'll do is tape off every other color, okay? So that you'll only have 4 colors or so, 3 or 4 colors exposed to work on at one time. I highly recommend always doing your lightest, most delicate colors first before your brush starts getting really dirty. So do your yellow first and your light values, because your brush as you work, even if you're diligently cleaning it, is going to get dirtier and dirtier. Do lay these down in layers. Some of these are not going to occur in a single layer. That red I just laid down was laid in a couple layers when they dried. Another trick for these colors, because your colors are probably not the most expensive pigment loaded colors, put the teeniest, tiniest amount of titanium white in each of your colors and it'll up your opacity of the color. The color will be slightly less transparent and streaky. Don't do it to the point where it changes the hue or the value, just enough and it'll really go more opaque for you, okay? But most of these colors, from my experience, are going to require 2, maybe 3 values, okay? So just let it fully dry and then go over it again. So you can see me working. Whenever you're taking your tape off, pull the tape to one side. This reduces the tension and it's going to tear your paper less. Also check the back of your board with your hand and see if the board itself is cool. If it's cool to touch, there's water embedded in that board. And if there's water, you're going to be more likely to tear. Now when you're mixing up your paint, be sure that your paint is not too thick and not too thin. Just enough water that it moves very cleanly over the board, but if you use too much water, that's when you're going to really increase that leakage under the tape. So a little bit more body in your paint and it won't leak under that tape, okay? A hairdryer can really help set this up faster and dry both sides. Otherwise, put it aside. Don't rush this project. If you rush this project, it's going to have to be redone and redone. So just have another project put aside while you're working on this one. So let me put this one aside. After you have established your hues, you want to match your value. So this is a guessing game, and don't be afraid to get your camera out and take a black and white picture of your color scheme after it's fully dry. Do not photograph your colors when they're wet. Acrylic paint dries 2 shades darker, okay? You have to start learning to set it down much lighter than you're anticipating it to dry. It's the nature of acrylic paint. It will always dry 2 full shades darker than when it was wet. So let it dry, take a photograph, go through several of your filters in your phone, silver tone, monotone, and see which one seems to be sort of in the middle, because they'll all provide slightly different versions of the achromatic look at your colors. Try to have even lighting, okay? Try not to have a light that's coming from one side. It'll really skew the results, okay? And all you're trying to do is, whenever you take a black and white picture, these two should disappear. This should look like one value. This gray should look like the same gray here. Whenever we take a black and white picture with your alizarin crimson, should blend with the gray, okay? And that's the problem, is trying to work on guessing what value that your colors are. And it's also going to really sensitize you to that problem of acrylic paint drying much, much darker than when it's wet. At the end, if you get this paint that's spilling out over your edges, don't paint that. If you've done this on your Bristol board and it's a nice thin board, just cut the chart out and rubber cement it onto another piece of Bristol board. So that'll give you a really clean look, and you can give yourself like a nice 1-inch border around it. Okay, that's your Hue Value chart. Good luck.